What's up? It's time for your Knox area, specifically Knox County. What's happening in the market update for 2024. At the time of this recording, it is July, so we're going to talk about what's happened January through June 2024 specific to Knox County. So check out the other videos about and other recordings about other counties. I have a video comparing, West Knox versus South Knox, etc. So this is though an overview of what's happening in Knox County. Again, I have done other recordings that are specific to area because the areas are so different. I'm going to give you some little hints about those, but this is an overview of Knox County specifically. So what is happening in the Knox County real estate market? So just some anecdotal, my own experience. It seems as if, just from, again, my own experience, we still have a ton of buyers. We have still many people moving to the area, and we still have people that, for whatever reason, locally want to purchase a home. A good number of first-time home buyers, people that don't want to pay rent anymore, people that are tired of rent being upped, and then, people that just, they're tired of renting. So we have those per usual. And then we have a good number of people that are either downsizing or upsizing, upgrading, whatever you want to call it, because house is too small, or maybe their kids have moved out and they want to be in a different location. They don't need to be in a specific school zone or school area. So we still have transactions happening. It is certainly not as crazy as it was in 2021 because that was literal insanity. We are still seeing homes with multiple offers, and this is all dependent on what the home is, what it is, where it is, what it's got. So for example, if you're in West Knoxville and you've got a 2-story plus basement home to sell, you're going to have a lot of people interested. I've had multiple clients who this is what they want, and they are difficult to find. And then even on the listing side, I recently had a listing in West Knoxville, 2-story plus basement, and we had 15 showings within the first day. That's a lot. Now, if we compare that to a home in Strawberry Plains, you might see 15 showings over the course of 3 weeks, as an example. It really depends. And then if we look at the cabin market, that's a whole other situation. It's very specific to property. I had a listing in Sequoia Hills that was, a $1 million property, single level, 2,000 square feet. Again, we had 18 showings within the first 24 hours of being listed. We had multiple offers. So things are still moving, but then at the same time, I've had other listings where they are not as in a highly desired area. Maybe they're at a lower price point, maybe not as much interest. I mean, there's just all kinds of different things. So I want to say that when we're talking about real estate in Knoxville, it's very specific to what the property is, where it is, potential buyer pool, etc. So just kind of keep that in mind. We're looking at broad sweeping data, and it's just kind of giving you an idea of what exactly is happening, just so you can kind of know if you're interested. Maybe you're a data person, or you're thinking like maybe you want to be in the market to buy or sell. These are just some interesting stats. The other thing that I find is that people relocating here are shocked by the prices. They cannot believe that somebody purchased a home in 2019 and is now selling it in 2024 for $500,000 more than what they bought it for, or $400,000 or whatever. So that's happening, especially depending on where homes were purchased, the age of the house, etc. So again, I want to emphasize to you that when it comes to the Knoxville market, not all homes are created equal. And today we're looking at broad strokes, big numbers to kind of inform us. And we're going to talk as well about what's happening nationally and how Knoxville compares. Okay, so let's talk about some major stats. We're going to talk about 4 major stats, and then I'm going to give you just an overview or a little stat about price appreciation since 2019 to May of 2024. So when it comes to overall pricing, that's what everyone wants to know. Pricing. When we look at Knox County specifically, median list price for June 2024 was $411,000. Now what's interesting about that is median list price in January was $411,000. But what we saw in April was a dip to $379,000. We saw a price decrease when it came to listings and homes for sale. Now, I also want to point out to you, if we look at June 2024, median list price was $403. So year to date, if we look at price appreciation, we're about 2% higher than where we were this time last year. Now the prediction, that's right now the prediction of where we thought we might be. So we'll see what happens towards the end of the year, especially rates, depending on, I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But overall, what we've seen, if you were to just look at the January prices compared to June prices, it looks like we're about where we started for the beginning of the year. We did see a dip, as I said, in April, but we started at around $411,000 median list price, and we are currently at $411,000 median list price. Now, again, just want to point out to you, if I dissect those numbers out and I say, well, what about West Knox only? Just as an example, West Knox median list price is $586,000. Not the same, it's higher, right? So if I then, for example, and I go look at South Knoxville median list price, $419. So it's still higher than Knoxville in general, but I just want to say again, please take these numbers as more general and a broad sweep of what's happening. So far for 2024, pricing has not really increased over the course of the year. If we look at what's happened January to June, and we even saw a decrease and drop from March to April. All right, so also when we talk about inventory, this is still a strong seller's market based on available inventory. And the way that we look at available inventory is how long would it take to sell every home currently listed? When would we run out of homes to purchase if nothing else was put on the market? So right now, as of June 2024, we are at 1.5 months of inventory, a month and a half. That is low. We started in February or January at around 2.5 months of inventory, which is a significant dip. Now, we are under inventory compared to the national average, which happening nationally. In the beginning of the year, we were closer to that national mark, but now we are below. It is certainly a seller's market. So the advantage is to the seller. It's still a seller's market. If we compare to this time last year, same thing. It was still a seller's market. We had a little less inventory. June 2023, we were at 1.2 months of inventory, whereas now we're at 1.5, month and a half of inventory. So still a strong seller's market. Certainly anything under 2, we would say is a strong seller's market. And then everyone differs on what they say. 6 months is, supposedly a balanced market, whatever. But what we can say is under 2, we know it certainly is a strong seller's market. And again, you want to consider where in Knoxville are you looking, because there are certain places that you've got more inventory. Certain places in East Tennessee, you've got more inventory. For example, if you were to go look at Sevier County and you were to look at the rental cabin market, that is a buyer's market. Make an offer, basically. Make an offer. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth. But if we're going to go over to West Knox, if we're going to go in South Knox, if we're going in Knox County, for the most part, we're dealing with a seller's market. Now, as a buyer, you don't want to be depressed by that, but you do want to think, okay, when you're going through the course of a transaction, what's more important to me? I get the house, so I need to be aggressive either in what I'm offering, but I'm not saying overpay. You always want to pay and buy what you're comfortable with. But maybe it means you do a shorter inspection period. Maybe it means you don't ask for repairs. Maybe it means you tailor your closing date to what the seller needs. We're still in a situation where, again, the seller has more options than the buyer does. And when the seller has more options, it's the disadvantage to the buyer. So, and again, these are generalities, so just keep that in mind. So inventory, we are certainly in a seller's market. Now let's talk about days on market. So right now, from list to close, on average, 33 days for Knox County. Now this again is very specific to location. So I want to point that out to you. This time last year, we were at the same, 33. The beginning of the year in January in the Knox County area, we were at 62 days. So we've almost cut that in half, our days on market. So homes are moving. We've seen a steady decline pretty much all year. We had a little bit faster days on market at 31 in May of this year. But similar to last year, 2024 is very similar. We saw homes sitting longer in January, and we've cut that time in half in the summer. Now, obviously things happen in the, just when it comes to the flow of the year. January is obviously less active than what's happening in May and June, where people are out of school, it's summertime, everything's moving. But also what also happened this winter is we had basically a snowmageddon, right? So no one's trying to go look at houses during the snowmageddon, even though I did. And I may or may not have fallen in the snow in the process. But I was wearing my snow boots, so at least that was good. But I was also wearing jeans. That was not good. Anyways, that's my own personal problem. Okay, what about price reductions? I get this question a lot when it comes to price reductions. Interestingly, if we compare 2023 to 2024, what we have seen in 2024 is that even though we had more days on market, we had a lot less price reductions in January of this year compared to June. So January, February, March, April, May, all through 2024 so far, every month, we have had an increase month over month of price reductions. Versus last year, what we saw is our highest amount of price reductions were actually in January. And then we saw them kind of dip and come back up, which mirrored what was happening nationally. Interestingly enough, price reductions in Knox County mirror what's also happening nationally. We've seen a rise in price reductions from January now through June consistently. So now I want to say that with caution, because even though we have seen increases in price reductions, the sell to list price ratio of the 5,000 so far in Knox County, there have been 5,546 transactions. That includes active, everything pending, every category of pending, closed, expired, and coming soon. 5,546 from January through June, Knox County only. And I just told you that we've seen the most amount of price reductions in June. However, according to our data that we have of January through June, average closed sale to list price ratio. So for example, let's say we list a house for $100,000. The sell to list price ratio is 0.99. Now 1 would mean it's 1-to-1, right? So if I list for 100,000, I sell for 100,000. But the average sell to list price ratio is 0.99. AKA, if I list a home for $100,000, on average, I'm going to sell it for $99,000. And there's some rumors going around on the streets. And I know these rumors because my people, they ask me. They see these price reductions. However, on average, we're still seeing that homes are selling at 99% of list price. Okay, so yes, have we seen more price reductions? Yes. However, when it comes to what homes are selling for, they're 99% of the list price. So keep this in mind. The other thing I want to point out to you is expireds. How many of those 5,546 homes are expireds? Are we seeing a ton of houses just not selling at all? Of all those 5,546, 3% or 4%? Let me check it. 4% of all of those transactions were expired. 242 something were expired. 242 of the 5,546, just over 4%, 4.3% were expired. So when I say expired, that means it was listed for sale and no one purchased it. Now, in these stats, I did not include temp off-market homes, and I did not include canceled homes because who knows, things happen in people's lives, and those are always, I don't want to say always. The math teacher in me will not allow me to continue without saying I shouldn't say always, okay? Because, you never know. But when you see temp off-market or a canceled home, it's some typically sort of outlier situation. Something happened in the seller's life. Maybe something happened with their property. Whatever. Maybe, you never know. Because people are very people-y and we have all kinds of people problems. Okay? You know what I mean? It's like we're all the same and we're all different all at the same time. And that's what makes real estate so much fun. Anyways, okay. Now, let's talk about quickly the rental market, what's happening. Because I mentioned this and I just wanted to point out to you pricing for apartments. What we've seen is that the average rent for, just as an example, in April 2024 was $1,824 per month for Class A. So that's like your nicer apartment or nicer place to rent for just very simple purposes. That's 1.95% higher than what it was in 2023. So we have seen also an increase in rents compared to 2023, which I think goes without saying, but I did want to point that out. But interestingly, that 2% price increase is almost mirroring the 2% price increase of median list price. Interesting. Okay, a couple notes about the national market. So 3 major predictions when it comes to the national market, and we're going to see how this impacts Knox County. As I mentioned, some of these stats mirror what's happening with what's happening in Knoxville is mirroring what's happening nationally. So, for example, as I said, price reductions this year pretty much mirror the curve of what's happening nationally. Days on market is mirroring what's happening nationally. If I look at list pricing is mirroring kind of what's happened nationally. Although we saw in our local Knox market, we saw a price dip from February, March, and April, and then we saw prices come back up May and June. However, nationally, what we've just seen is a steady incline up. By the way, if you're listening just to the recording, I wanted to say that there is a video on YouTube, which if you're watching this on YouTube, this is also an audio podcast. It's a whole other story, but there are visual graphics for everything I'm talking about. So you may be like, your eyes may be crossing at this point, but I do want to say there are visuals available, or you can just text me directly and I'll send them to you. Anyhow, median list pricing, as I said, is a little bit different. There is a kind of a flatlining in Knox County, just if you look at the numbers, but nationally what we've seen is an increase. Months of inventory, we are below what's happening nationally. So that's a difference for sure. So that being said, 3 major predictions for the remainder of 2024 when it comes to the national housing market is that the number of sales will be about on par with what happened in 2023. So that would imply that we're going to see the similar number of sales that we had in 2023 in 2024. Stay tuned for that in the Knoxville area as well. Okay, the thing everyone wants to know about is mortgage rates. The prediction was that we were going to see three mortgage rate drops throughout the course of 2024. That's not happened. It's July. At the time that I'm making this video, it's not happened. The prediction by many sources, many banks, I think it's like 15 out of, let me see if I can pull the graphic, 15 of the major 25 banks all are guessing that September is going to be the time when rates drop. Now, we know there's a lot of stuff happening geopolitically. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but this is an election year. The prediction was that because it was an election year, things were going to get amazing and rates were going to drop and blah, 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 but that's not happened. So with all that being said, Barclays, Citigroup, Evercore, Fannie Mae, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, Taishi, I don't know if I'm saying that right, and the Mortgage Bankers Association, Morgan Stanley, Nomura, TD Securities, Wells Fargo, UBS, all are saying that September is going to be the time when rates drop. Who knows? And then beyond that, well, how much are they going to drop? The prediction is that by the end of quarter 4 in 2024, that rates will be at the 6.67%. Who knows? Who freaking knows? No one, which is why when we talk about should I time the market with what I'm buying, it's one thing if you're purchasing or selling from it's all an investment. But if it's one thing if it's something you're buying to live in and you have a life circumstance or you're an investor, you're coming from a different perspective, right? So maybe as an investor, it would make sense to time the market. For example, right now, if you're an investor that wants to be in the Sevier County, Smoky Mountain, Gatlinburg situation, now might be a good time to buy because there's so much inventory. We have some sellers that bought too high in 2019, 2020, 21, and now they're sitting on something that they can't move, and maybe it's being poorly managed, etc. So it might be a good time to get into that market. However, some investors, they're not going to buy 2-story basement homes in West Knoxville because those are high and those are for families. All I'm saying is I don't think it's necessarily waiting on the rates to do what we don't know is going to happen is not something you can control. That's all I'm saying. Work with what you control and what you know and what you feel comfortable with. You get what I'm saying? Anyways. Okay. Price appreciation is predicted to be at 2.8% for the national amount. And then again, for this year, right now, really, if we compare January to June, we're pretty much flatline. If we compare to what happened this year to last year, when it comes to list price, we're about 2% higher. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. If rates go down, we are going to see pricing go up. Just going to tell you, it is what it is. Okay. The other thing I want to just mention, just to bring this kind of home, is if we look at what's happened in the Knoxville market, again, it's very tempting to go and look and see what did someone buy a house for whenever they bought it, okay? And I want to tell you right now, when you go look, what did someone buy a house for in 2019? And then you look at what they're selling it for in 2024. First of all, did they make updates? What did they do? What have they done? But also, what has happened in the market? In the Knox County market in 2019, the average price per square foot, the average list price per square foot in Knox County was $122 per square foot. Now, in May 2024, the average list price per square foot for all of Knox County is $220. That's an 80% increase. And this mirrors what's happened nationally. Prices have gone up. So yes, I understand. When you look at what happened in 2019, you think, oh, that's not that long ago. What happened? But the bottom line is prices have increased. So it feels like sticker shock, okay? And so I want to acknowledge it, but I also want to say that this is a Knox County thing across the board. It's also a national thing across the board. Market values have increased. So I just bring that up because I have a lot of clients who are buying and moving into the area, and they're looking at what somebody paid for something, as I've repeated now probably 4 times. You're like, Haley, you're repeating yourself. But it's very tempting to be like, oh my God. But this is one of those, it is what it is, right? So just want to say, hey, that is the reality of the situation. So anyways, takeaways. We're still in a strong seller's market at 1.5 months of inventory. We're still in a strong seller's market. Other takeaways. So far, pricing for Knox County has been somewhat level. If we look at where we started in January to where we are now in June, we're almost at the same number, around $411,000 median list price. And finally, price reductions. We have seen over the course of 2024, January through June, we saw price reductions increase over the course of the year. However, sell to list price ratio is still 0.99. So we're still seeing that homes overall on average are selling very close to the price at which they were listed at. So anyways, I hope this has been helpful. If you're still here at the end, please let me know your questions or comments. If you want specifics about other markets or a certain zip code or Blount County or Sevier County or whatever, you can call me, you can text me, you can comment in the comments. Knock yourself out. Anyways, as always, I hope this has been helpful and I will see you next time.